Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I got a good one for you tonight. Well, it'll be tomorrow morning when you see this, hopefully. And guess what? Devin Nunes is suing Fusion GPS over false media smears and bogus ethics claims. Now, this is just one of many articles. I'm going to leave 3 of them down below, the links for them, so you can read them, because we're not going to focus on those. We're going to go to the real document. You know me, I like those real documents. So, yep, this is what he's going after. And I was really surprised. I saw this on the news tonight. I rarely watch the national news because all I get is like the 3 major stations. So I know it's going to be biased. So I had the TV on. I wasn't feeling real good. So I was laying down watching it and I thought, oh, what's going on? And of course, they had Devin Nunes on there. But then who did they bring against him? Well, I'll tell you that in a minute to give that side of the story. Yeah, anyway. The thing was, it was about racketeering, and I thought that was a little strange, but after reading it, I can kind of understand where he's going with it. But yeah, racketeering, well, he's going to go for a RICO violation. It's just weird, but I think he has a good case. Anyway, here's the Washington Examiner. I'll leave those 3 down below so that you can read them on your own. Choose whichever one you think is the best, or read them all. It's always good to be informed. But here's the real document, okay? This is the actual court filing, and it was filed on the 4th, and I am recording this on the 5th, well, very early in the morning on the 6th, actually. Anyway, but yeah, he is the plaintiff, so whenever you see the word plaintiff in this document, it's referring to Devin Nunes. And who is it against? Well, Fusion GPS, aka Bean Limited, or LLC, and Glenn Simpson, and the Campaign for Accountability. Now, this is going to be referred to as CFA. This is who they had on the news. So they had Devin Nunes, they asked him about his lawsuit, and then, of course, what do? They bring on the Campaign for Accountability and quote them as saying, oh, it's all bogus and there's no way anything is going to come from it, and it's a waste of time, waste of money. Of course they would say that. What do you think? So anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny because at the time I didn't know that they were one of the defendants. And so I knew they were very anti-Devin Nunes. But then once I saw this, I thought, that explains it. Okay. And I love this. Trial by jury is demanded. So I think he's not going to settle for anything but a trial by jury because I think he wants the information out there. And he wants it to be judged by, real people instead of by some judge who may or may not be appointed. And he doesn't want the decision lying in that person's hands. So this is the complaint. Now, I am not going to read all of this because it's 34 pages long, but it really is an actually good read. I mean, you got to get past the first part because they have to do a lot of defining terms and defining who people are. So it's a little boring. But anyways, you can see here that these are the people that are going to be involved. They're going to refer to Fusion GPS, aka Bean. I didn't know the Bean part of it, LLC. And they'll just call that Fusion GPS throughout the document. Glenn Simpson, they usually will refer to as Simpson. And then Campaign for Accountability, they just put the CFA. So that's what they're going to be talking about. Now, he's asking for $9.9 million. Yeah. Compensatory damages, statutory damages, and there's this 3-fold thing where you end up getting, you can get like 3 times as much as the actual damages. So it's a treble something or other. I don't know. I looked it up and yeah, evidently that is something that you can do, and it's supposed to make sure they know that they're not supposed to do that again. Okay, the bad guys. So anyway, he's asking for $3.3 million, and then you triple that and you get $9.9 million. I hope he gets this. I really do, because after reading this, there are things in here I didn't know he was going through. And I really feel bad for this man. I mean, he has been through a lot. So let's get at it, and I will show you some of it. Anyway, so that's what they're asking for. And this other stuff, reasonable attorney's fees and post-judgment interest and court costs and all, all that kind of stuff. So that's what he's asking for. Now, when you're talking about this, you have to understand that it deals with the RICO stuff, and he's trying to tie them in and show that they used these different things like the internet, computers, telephones, mails, and facsimile to work together to try to take Devin Nunes down. Okay, really, that's what it was. It was strong-arming him, threatening him, and trying to keep him from doing his job, which was to uncover the real corruption and this whole, the fakery of this whole Russian collusion narrative. So this is what they're talking about here. And, it lays it all out. You can go ahead and read that part. But it's what they have to set down here. Let me get a little bit further, because they're talking about, how he was injured. He was injured in his business, property, and reputation by defendants' racketeering activity and tortious misconduct. And tortious there means like misconduct that is a tort, a wrong that's done against somebody. Okay, and they call them torts. Anyway, so that's that tortious there. Plaintiff begins this action to recover money damages for injuries caused by the defendant's racketeering activity, for disgorgement of the ill-gotten gains and fruits of defendant's unlawful enterprise, to impose reasonable restrictions on defendant's future activities. Can you imagine? I mean, if he wins this and they can't keep doing what they've been doing. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me get to it here. Including defendants' use of fraudulent opposition research and fraudulent ethics complaints to intimidate members of Congress and other law enforcement officers in the performance of their official duties, to enjoin the defendants from committing wire fraud and from obstructing justice, and to order the dissolution or reorganization of Fusion GPS and CFA so as to prevent or restrain the defendants from committing fraud, lying to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Justice, Congress, and Senate, obstructing justice, and violating this particular title, this code. Okay, so if he succeeds in this and he wins the case, this is going to be a huge blow against these people. Oh, but let's go on. Anyway, this describes the parties, okay? And so the first one is all about Devin Nunes, and it's kind of like a bio here. And he is actually located in the San Joaquin Valley. He's currently the representative of California's 22nd Congressional District. It was the 21st, but then they did like a redistricting type thing. And so now he's in the 22nd. That's where he lives. And so evidently it's this county right here. I believe it's pronounced Tulare. Okay, so if I'm mistaken, I apologize to all those people from California, but that's the closest I could find when it was pronounced out. So anyway, so this just tells all about him. That's where he was born, in that area and everything. So, this is where the guy's from, and he graduated from that high school and everything. I mean, that is his home and always has been. And it tells all the different committees that he's been on, and yeah, it goes on for a little bit. And, it's just a basic bio in a lot of ways. Well, then it goes in and it talks about the House Permanent Select Committee, and, you got to define all these things. And some of the things that they were trying to do, they were trying to uncover this whole Russian collusion. Was there anything going on there? And that's what Devin Nunes was trying to uncover. Well, It comes down here then, and it talks about the defendant, Fusion GPS, is a Delaware limited liability company headquartered in Washington, D.C. Fusion GPS represents that it provides premium research, strategic intelligence, and due diligence services to corporations, law firms, and investors worldwide. In truth, Fusion GPS is a political war room for hire that specializes in dirty tricks and smears. Yep. That's it. That's what they do right there. And that's why he is bringing this lawsuit against them. They've got to be stopped. And he says here, as a regular way of doing business, it smears the opposition on behalf of its undisclosed clients. Upon information and belief, many of Fusion GPS's clients, agents, and donors are located in Virginia, and Fusion GPS repeatedly uses the same means and methods. It creates fake dossiers and supplies the fraudulent documents to friendlies in the media for dissemination online and via social media. Does that sound like the wrap-up smear? Yeah, that's exactly what Nancy Pelosi was talking about. The wrap-up smear. And hey, I know in that video she was talking about the Republicans, and she was accusing the Republicans of doing that, but we know who really does it because we know who has friendlies in the media that will work with them and will print pretty much anything they just fabricate. And this is, the whole Truthification Chronicles. I started out with this idea because they're taking fiction and trying to sell it as truth. Anyway, so another technique employed by Fusion GPS is astroturfing. Astroturfing is the attempt to create an impression of widespread grassroots support for a position where no such support actually exists. Fusion GPS uses multiple cutouts, online identities, and fake pressure groups to mislead the public into believing that its positions on behalf of clients are correct and or commonly held. Yeah. Do we see it now? Yep, this is exactly it. CFA is regularly used by astroturfers like Fusion GPS. So this astroturfing, I think, is huge. And again, if he can shut this down, it's not only going to really just take a chunk out of what they're doing, but it's also going to open the door for others to be targeted with the same thing. Because if this is a precedent that they can win, there's other people who are going to be in trouble for astroturfing. I'd never heard of that one before, I gotta admit. That was a new one for me, but hey, I've seen it happen. I knew it was happening. I just didn't know that they called it that. So anyway, astroturfing. And then they talk about Simpson. We know Simpson is he manages Fusion GPS and its public face, and that he conspired with Perkins Coie and also Christopher Steele, and this Orbis Business Intelligence is Christopher Steele's company, to manufacture a compendium of fake intelligence reports that Simpson and Steele provided the FBI and DOJ and then leaked to the mainstream media outlets for the express purpose of instigating and promoting the false narrative that the Trump campaign or persons associated with it colluded with Russians. Yep, the false narrative. So this is what he's really targeting. He's tying it in here with the DNC and the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign, and they were using these false and defamatory statements in the Steele dossier to poison the minds of voters against candidate Donald Trump and to influence the outcome of 2016 presidential election. This is big, folks. This is really big, because if all this starts coming out in the news, Devin Nunes has proof of this. And it actually states that later on that he does. And so, if he has proof, we're going to start to see this proof entered into the record. It's going to be the evidence in the court case. So I think it's really going to start coming out. Anyway, and then it talks about Steele, that he was MI6 until 2008. Perkins Coie is an international law firm, and the guy in charge of that is Mark Elias is the chair, and then Sussman is a partner at Perkins Coie. And of course, the Perkins Coie was kind of the money laundering for the Steele dossier money. What they did was the DNC paid Perkins Coie supposedly for legal work, but there wasn't really legal work. That money was then channeled on to Fusion GPS so they could pay Steele to produce the dossier. It's just crazy. I could not write a novel like this because it's so complex. People would never read it. They wouldn't believe it. Okay, so now CFA, let's find out about them, is a dark money partisan left-wing 501c3 nonprofit organization that uses the Freedom of Information Act, litigation, and aggressive communications to target government officials, principally conservative Republicans. CFA claims, ironically, that it works on behalf of the public interest to expose corruption, negligence, and unethical behavior wherever it may occur. As part of its business, CFA operates a website, a Twitter account, and that's the Twitter handle there, a Facebook account, a YouTube channel, and publishes articles via Medium. In 2017, CFA received a total of $994,811 in contributions and grants. In 2018, CFA received a total of $1.2 million in contributions and grants. CFA does not disclose the identities of its donors. Upon information and belief, CFA's donors include the left-wing funding incubation nonprofit New Venture Fund. Okay, and then it starts in with some of these things that are supporting what they've been saying. But before we do that, I need you to look at this footnote, because this footnote says CFA was founded in 2015 by alumni of prominent left-wing opposition research super PAC, American Bridge, 21st Century, and Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, CREW, an advocacy group that uses aggressive legal action, in-depth research, and bold communications to target Republican office holders. Well, now where have we seen American Bridge, 21st Century, and Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington? Guess what? Here we are. You remember this? If you've been around my channel, you've seen I've put this out many times. I will link to it down below again, because if you've not read this, you need to. It's 49 pages of jaw-dropping. I can't believe this is done in America. So this was leaked. It was supposed to be private and confidential. It was leaked to... I can't remember who had Free Beacon. Yeah, the Free Beacon had it. And it was a meeting that went on over like about 3 days during the inauguration of President Trump. So they were planning all this when President Trump was standing up there, making his speech, taking his oath. It just boggles my mind. Anyway, Media Matters for America, that's David Brock's little baby. Well, guess what? Oh, look, American Bridge 21st Century, and CREW. And we've already talked about Share Blue. So those are the organizations underneath it. We've also talked about CREW before because that was the organization that put in the fake stuff about Kellyanne Conway to the Office of Special Counsel that got her in trouble. So these people, this is what they do. And Devin Nunes is correct saying this is what they do, that they just smear people. This is it. And here was an article about that the Daily Caller had that revealed that the CFA, which is, this organization, engaged Fusion GPS as an independent contractor in 2018 and paid Fusion GPS, well, they didn't put the S on the end, and paid Fusion nearly $140,000 for unspecified, quote, research. Yeah, So there are tons of links in here, folks. Such good articles. I haven't had time to read all the articles, but you can just click on these links. I mean, it'll just open it up. So I recommend you right click so you can open it in another tab or a window or something. But oh yeah, and then of course they have to go through the jurisdiction. They're going to have it in Virginia, and yeah, it's where a lot of them are located. And the vast majority of Trump campaign foreign policy meetings between June 2016 and September 2016, that would have been when he was candidate Trump, occurred in Virginia in Arlington County and Fairfax County. So that gives them another reason to have it in Virginia. Now, I don't know law in Washington, D.C. or Virginia, so I don't know if Virginia is a better place, a more friendly place maybe. So that would be my guess, that maybe it's less biased in Virginia than it would be in D.C. And that's why they sought that venue. I don't know for sure, but look at this. Then he says, okay, many of the key witnesses to the defendant's corrupt business practices, including former FBI Director James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Bruce Orr, and Fusion GPS contractor Nellie Orr, reside in Virginia. So is he planning on using them as witnesses? Because it says here, key witnesses. Many of the key witnesses to the defendant's corrupt business practices. Is he going to be using them as witnesses against Fusion GPS? I mean, that's kind of how I read it. I don't know if that's true, but that's how it struck me when I went through it. Okay, and then here's where it sets it all up. And we remember where, Fusion GPS was hired by Perkins Coie, who was hired by the DNC, who was, Hillary Clinton's campaign was putting in the money. So that's how it all got there. Oh, just so crazy. I really do feel kind of bad for the kids that are going to have to be studying this, because you got to remember this whole thing. You can't just remember, well, the DNC paid for the dossier. Well, not exactly. The DNC paid a lawyer, Perkins Coie, and then Perkins Coie gave money to Fusion GPS to do research for them, and then Fusion GPS hired Christopher Steele. I mean, really, it's crazy. It really is. So anyway, and it goes through, all about the dossier and all this. And this is good information. It's interesting to read. Perkins Coie chose Fusion GPS to smear opposition candidate Trump because of Fusion GPS's well-documented history of defamation, dirty tricks, and its pattern and practice of using fabricated dossiers and the media to intimidate and smear targets. Now, you have to understand that with the RICO thing, what he has to prove is that they have a pattern of doing this. And so that's why you see that they have this pattern and practice, because they have to prove that it's not just a one-time thing, that it is a repeated pattern over a long period of time. And so that's what he is really trying to point out there. And I mean, you go through, there's the president's hit list. Here was testimony of Thor Halvorsen. They've got links. These links are great. Just need to read them all. And like here, the Fusion GPS link to Derwick Associates, Venezuela's most corrupt criminal gang. I want to read that one. I haven't had time to. But, you got that. You've got just all these different, and a lot of these footnotes are really packed full of stuff too. So if you get this document, make sure you read the footnotes as well, because, wow, there's just so much in this. Such good resource. Anyway, so this is all talking about, Steele's reputation and Fusion GPS's reputation. And then when Trump won the Republican nomination, and then right after that is when the FBI supposedly launched Crossfire Hurricane. And then, of course, we have the Steele dossier, leaked the Steele dossier to the FBI, DOJ, State Department, and multiple journalists. I like the way that's in quotes quote, journalists who were friendly to presidential candidate Clinton. So yeah, by September 23rd, 2016, the Steele dossier was in the hands of at least 9 media outlets. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, 9. And we know that Steele was desperate to see Donald Trump defeated. And, this just goes through and it chronicles it all. So I'm sure that you already know this information. But sometimes at this point, it's hard to know it all. And sometimes it's good to have a refresher course. And that's basically what he goes through here. And he talks about how, it was supposed to be verified. See, it says verified in the Carter page, FISA warrant, but it wasn't at all. And, this is telling the story right here of what happened from Devin Nunes' point of view. And I loved reading it because he's right. I mean, this is exactly what happened. And here he was, like, in the front row to see this. I can't even imagine. But anyway, so this is what Devin Nunes was witnessing. And it's telling the whole story of Simpsons and Orrs and all of the different people, Mother Jones. And I'm scrolling down for this particular page because... And here's the John McCain, talks about John McCain here. And then, how the FBI suspended Christopher Steele because he was disclosing stuff to media and he wasn't supposed to. So, yeah, anyway, like I said, it keeps going. I am working towards something. And here's all the CNN and BuzzFeed and, they did all that and... BuzzFeed finally was who put it out. And so anyway, then it comes down here and it's talking about plaintiff was one of the leading and most vocal members of Congress to advocate for a thorough investigation of the role Fusion GPS and the Steele dossier played in advancing the Russian collusion narrative. Fusion GPS and Simpson harbored spite and ill will towards plaintiff and decided to smear plaintiff as a result of his tenacious efforts in 2017 to expose Fusion GPS's nefarious activities. So then he talks about subpoenaing, Steele, Fusion GPS and everything. And then, of course, they lied. So there's links here. All these links are really great to take. I mean, plaintiff also issued a subpoena to Fusion GPS's bank, and they finally ended up getting the records, I guess. So the bank records produced by Fusion GPS revealed that the Clinton campaign, the DNC, and Perkins Coie paid for Fusion GPS's anti-Trump research. So in case you missed that tidbit, there's the links to all that, so you can verify that. In case somebody might be questioning it, I don't know right now. It's hard for me to know sometimes what the people who vote Democrat, and I'm going to call them that, the people who vote Democrat, because I'm not sure most of the regular people really understand what all went on. Because most of them listen to mainstream media, and they have no reason to question it. Because that's what the leaders of the Democrat Party are supporting. So I just kind of wonder what's going to happen when they find out the truth and there's not going to be any way that, you can doubt it when it's going to be really obvious. I don't know how they're going to react. But that's why I call them the people who vote Democrat. So, the people that vote Democrat, I just wonder what's going to happen when this really sinks in, because I think a lot of them don't know this particular fact right here, that they actually do have bank records that show that. I mean, it's not that Devin Nunes was just saying it off the cuff. The bank records showed that's who paid for the Steele dossier. So anyway, like I said, let me go on. Lots of footnotes, and the footnotes are big sometimes. Okay, and then Simpson, lied to Congress, and yes, he lied to both the House of Representatives and the Senate, and here's a snippet of some of the testimony where he lied, and he knowingly and willfully lied to the Senate Judiciary Committee, and Grassley supported that. It's really very interesting to read because it has all these wonderful links and everything. So, fearing a criminal referral for his false statements to the FBI and DOJ for lying to Congress and the Senate and for obstructing the House Intelligence Committee in its Russia investigation, the defendants directly and aggressively retaliated against the plaintiff, and remember that's Nunes, employing the same or similar means and methods as Fusion GPS and Simpson have employed multiple times in the past to smear the opposition. And there we go with the pattern building. I mean, it is a pattern over and over. These organizations, it is a pattern. This is how they work. They smear somebody. This is especially what Crew does because they're supposed to be for ethics in Washington. Oh, yeah. So they are putting out all these fake ethics violations. They keep filing these reports, and they're not true. Anyway, and then Simpson creates a phony dossier that he passes on to friendly journalists and or associates who use the negative information to smear the target. I mean, just messing with reality is, it's crazy. And then here, as news of Simpson's perjury was being widely reported, CFA, acting in concert with Fusion GPS, faxed an ethics complaint against plaintiff to the Office of Congressional Ethics. The purpose of the defendant's first ethics complaint was to threaten and intimidate plaintiff, impede his communications with conservative members of the press, chill reporting of Fusion GPS and Simpson's wrongdoing, interfere with plaintiff's congressional investigation into Fusion GPS and the Steele dossier, and dissuade plaintiff from making criminal referrals to the DOJ. On March 1st, 2018, CFA faxed a second ethics complaint against plaintiff to OCE. This time, CFA falsely accused plaintiff and his staff members acting at his direction of having leaked to the press private text messages between Senator Mark Warner, who is the ranking member of the Senate Intel Committee, and Adam Waldman, a lawyer connected to Steele, in which Senator Warner tried to arrange a meeting with Steele. Okay, and I think Senator Warner was involved in some major leaking himself, because there were leaks coming out of that committee, and it sure was not on the Republican side. Anyway, defendant's intended goal was to undermine confidence in plaintiff, harass and overwhelm him with litigation, and distract him from his duties as a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Because remember, before 2018, the election in November 2018, Devin Nunes was still the ranking member of the Intel Committee in the House. So, on July 11, 2018, CFA faxed a third ethics complaint to OCE, this time falsely stating that plaintiff violated federal law and House ethics rules by failing to include information on his personal financial disclosure forms and accepting an impermissible gift. An accompanying press release published on CFA's website contained the following defamatory clickbait headline: Ethics complaint against Representative Devin Nunes for lying about his investments in several California companies. See, it was all a lie. This is how they do it. They take lies and then they promote them as if they're truth, and people believe them. And then when they do, they get caught and they have to put some kind of, apology or anything like that up, nobody notices. Nobody reads those. They only read the headlines with the smears in them. That's how they work. And that's why they keep doing what they're doing, because it works. People don't read past the main headlines. CFA's third ethics complaint was a result of a joint effort that included Michael Seeley, a political activist and longtime member of Southern California's Americans for Democratic Action. I kind of think when I did that one about Nunes being a farmer, wasn't that the organization that was in there that I had a video of a guy that was really coming down on Devin Nunes about being a farmer? I was like, yeah, now I know why. A left-wing populist political organization committed to liberal politics, liberal policies, and a liberal future. Ooh, that's creepy right there. Upon information and belief, Fusion GPS and or CFA directed Seeley to make a request under the California Public Records Act, which PRA is what that is, for emails received by plaintiff's wife. Okay, they're now going into Devin Nunes' wife and going after her. And her name's Elizabeth, an elementary school teacher. Seeley's request targeting plaintiff's wife ended up costing the Tulare County Office of Education thousands of dollars in unnecessary cost and expense. Seeley published Elizabeth Nunes' emails online and included the names and email addresses of numerous school administrators and teachers, resulting in extensive harassment of these innocent, hardworking citizens of Tulare County, including hateful accusations that they teach bigotry and racism. Can you imagine? I'm a school teacher, okay? Well, a retired school teacher, but I just can't even imagine somebody doing that. I mean, they get these emails and then they put them out there with, it's bad enough that they put the emails out there, but that they put them out there with the names and email addresses of the people that she was corresponding with. This is outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Why would they give them to him in the first place? I mean, surely they could have redacted names and email addresses, but I guess not. Anyway, in fact, the school was so concerned about security problems resulting from this situation that it adopted enhanced security measures. Okay, I am not going to go on with the rest of this because this is just, it's smear after smear after smear. And this lady right here, Liz Mayer, she was part of this. And it says Mayer works for anonymous dark money clients. And even on her LinkedIn page, she says, what do I do for these clients? Anonymously smear their opposition on the internet. Serious. This is what the woman does, and she admits it. And she controls this group called the Swamp Accountability Project, and it's a dark money group run out of Alexandria, Virginia. So, and it says here on the same day CFA filed its third complaint, Swamp filed an ethics complaint against plaintiff. So they coordinated together to do that at the same time. I mean, I didn't know Devin Nunes had to go through all this. The organized and coordinated attacks on plaintiff bear all the hallmarks of a Fusion GPS smear operation. The purpose of the Fusion GPS CFA ethics complaints was to create negative publicity for plaintiff, to harass, intimidate, and distract plaintiff, to cast a pall upon the congressional investigation into the role that the Fusion GPS, Simpson, and the Steele dossier played in advancing the Russian collusion narrative, and to dissuade plaintiff from pursuing criminal charges against Simpson and Fusion GPS. Just as they had done with Halverson and many others, Fusion GPS, acting in concert with CFA and Mayer and these groups here, Crew and American Bridge for 21st Century, yep, all of them, coordinated the attacks on plaintiff with McClatchy, a newspaper with a known axe to grind against plaintiff. Each of the ethics complaints filed against plaintiff was leaked to McClatchy and immediately reported by McClatchy in the Fresno Bee. So, yep. I mean, that's how they do it right there. Just all laid out, the ethics complaints. And I just did not know Devin Nunes was going through all this. I mean, I knew he was being targeted. I'm pretty sure he's had death threats and stuff that he's had to deal with. So anyway, I'm going to leave the rest of this so you can go through it because it's the same thing. He's showing how they are doing these dirty tricks, continue to present day, and it's all part of the same thing. This Fusion GPS and Perkins Coie and, the CFA and obviously all of these Media Matter organizations here, they're all in cahoots together because they all want the same thing, and that's to get rid of Trump and to take down the United States as it is, to strip us of our wealth and our power. That's why they wanted Hillary in there, because they knew if they got her in there, that's exactly what was going to happen. And, here, the Steele Soros connection. I'm telling you guys, this was really very interesting to read. So I'll put the link down below to this and also the 3 articles I had. And of course, I'll link to this as well so you can read them all, because there they are, folks. This is what's going on. It's huge. So I wish him very well, and I hope that he ends up becoming a millionaire out of it. By the way, Devin Nunes is not a real wealthy man. I looked up his net worth, and it was like maybe $130,000, which is really not that much when you're talking about Congress, because we've got a lot of very wealthy people in, the House and in the Senate. So he's not one of the rich ones, that's for sure. So, yeah, that's where he's at. And so keep him in your prayers if you're a praying person. And I wanted to let you know about this because this is big. If he wins this, this is going to be major. It's really going to take out one of the main arms of the smear tactics that have been going on against all these members in Congress. I'm willing to bet that somewhere along the line, one of these organizations we've discussed tonight had to do with the smearing of Jim Jordan as well. Yeah, somewhere they paid somebody to do something. And then, of course, the astroturfing, that's a huge thing where they're making it seem like something is bigger than it really is. And if we can get rid of that before the 2020 election, that will be huge. Of course, courts go really slow, so I don't know how long it's going to take for this to go through the system. But wow, if he wins this will be huge, because it will open the door to probably take on these organizations here. And that would be really big too, because they're like the hitmen in this global mafia that's going on. But the Democrats, have it all sewn up. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.